Well, hi guys, welcome to another Test Miles video. We're actually at the LA International Auto Show and we're in the Maserati booth. We've come across their very first SUV called the Levante. Now there's two of them on the floor here, but we may have got our hands on one of them to drive on the street. Let's find out how the Levante handles when we get it onto the streets of LA. All right, initial feeling of driving the Levante is it's really tight. Steering is tight, transmission is tight, everything is very, very precise, and it's a very stiff sports car-like ride. Everything you'd actually expect from a Maserati. It's hard to really tell how amazing it is driving around the streets of LA, but from the inside, I can hear that this car has an amazing exhaust sound. How does it sound outside? Listen to this. The other thing I noticed about it is when you come to a traffic light, the engine actually turns off, so it has a start-stop fuel management system, and that's because the truth is it actually only does 16 miles a gallon combined. So what are the different trim levels in the car that they have? There is the Levante S, which has 430 horsepower, and then there's the QS, which is the all-wheel drive version. It has the best-in-class interior space for a vehicle. Now, let's talk about the reason this car is absolutely brilliant and dynamic to drive. Has a really low center of gravity. They made it much like a sports car in its handling, but it has that large SUV stance and 7 different ride heights. So you can use the button here to adjust how high the vehicle is when you want to drive it. Get it out on the track, you want to put it as low as possible. Driving around the streets of LA, you probably want to have it as high as possible, which means you can see above the traffic and the vehicles in front of you. And it has 4 different drive modes. If you hit the sports button twice, you get it into that really cool sports mode, and then of course you can take off the traction control. But Ryan, it also has something called ICE, doesn't it?
Yeah, and this ICE, a lot of people think it's just for slick conditions because it's spelled ICE, but it's actually ICE. It stands basically for smoother, more comfortable ride, and ICE can be used in slick conditions. It's going to use the full potential of the all-wheel drive and the torque vectoring to make sure that you are as safe as possible.
Now this is an Italian design, which means we've got absolutely premium materials everywhere. Not only is it a great performance machine, this thing is absolutely beautifully tailored. And I can accelerate away from a light and have a lot of fun with it, but on the inside, let me tell you, it has some absolutely beautiful leather. It's well tailored with real wood, along with carbon fiber and metal trims on the inside. And in the back, if you have anybody that needs to charge anything, 2 USB plugs.
So most cars have carbon fiber. It's just what they call it. Inside this Maserati, we have tightly woven actual carbon fibers. When you take a close look at the carbon fiber in here, you can tell it's real. You can tell it's not a plastic makeup, it's not a 3D printed design. This is a real carbon fiber makeup.
Now Maserati, who is a sister company to Ferrari, are all about quality. In fact, they have a saying that is, quality is everything, nothing is out. And that's what they've done with the sound system here. It's a Bowers & Wilkinson sound system. It has a 8.4-inch touchscreen, which is the Maserati setup touchscreen. And the sound that comes out of here is absolutely premium. Not only have Maserati engineered this vehicle so they've given it the absolute best in performance and luxury, but they've also thought about safety systems in here. If you look at it, it has things like front collision warning. It has all of the safety systems that you'd expect on a premium luxury vehicle. And on top of that, you can see out of the vehicle very well. The side, the A-pillars, the front windshield is very large, but at the same time, it has that sleek coupe-like back. But I have enough of a back window to be able to see out of the vehicle and see the traffic behind me. What was the name of that kind of material stuff? What was it?
Ermenegildo Zegna.
Ermenegildo Zegna?
Ermenegildo Zegna.
It really doesn't. It sounds like something you would have out of a movie like The Princess Bride. My name is American Ozilna. You kill my feather, prepare to die.
Now the Levante is equipped with Isofix, the universal child restraint system. So quick and easy, click, clack, snap your kids in.
Clip, clap, snap your kids in. Thank God you don't have children. Clip, clap, snap your kids in.
You also have an optional dual pane sunroof. This one doesn't actually have it, but we have the enormous panoramic sunroof, so we have a beautiful view of the sky as we drive around LA. Now with a lot of cars, we don't really talk about the dual zone climate control system because many vehicles have it, but in this Maserati, we have an optional 4 climate control zones.
4 is quad.
Quad. That's right. So if your kids are complaining about being too hot in the back because you're freezing up here, turn the AC on in the back, turn the heat on in the front. Everybody's happy.
I think your kids are probably complaining about clip, clap, fastened in with some kind of rope.
Another fancy Italian word for this carbon fiber trim is carbonio trim.
Now that sounds like something you might order at a restaurant.
Carbonio. So obviously, since we're in the Levante, we need remote start because we live in Oregon and it tends to snow, it tends to be cold, we want our windows defrosted. The remote start feature is an option that is necessary. We also have a kick sensor in the tailgate for those days when you have your hands full, get done clicking and clacking your kids into their seatbelt. Gotta put your groceries in the back, you just kick your foot underneath the sensor and your back tailgate will open. It also has 4 12-volt adapters, one of which is located in the boot. And of course, our bi-xenon headlights are standard on this.
So one of the things that I have to tell you about this car is driving it has been an absolute thrill and excitement. I mean, I've had it in LA for a few days. We've been driving it around the city and just taking corners with it, accelerating with it. It's really a tight drive. It's also a very smooth and quiet drive. I feel a little bit like I want to hear more of the exhaust on the inside. It would be nice to have perhaps the exhaust sound pumped into the inside of the car. I can hear it when I take it off and I have the sports button pushed down twice. Once I push my foot down really hard, that change down, that throttle, that throaty sound is absolutely beautiful out the back of the car. Although we haven't had a chance to take it off-road, I can tell this vehicle is very agile, it's very responsive, and it's very sort of intelligent as far as its drive is concerned. Just driving downtown LA traffic, weaving in and out of buses with other traffic, this vehicle really holds its own. I can't imagine what it would be like if we put it on a track.
Just the thought of putting an SUV on the track kind of makes me cringe, but since this is such a low center of gravity, I really feel like it would be a great time.
And finally, of course, Maserati gave us the QS version, which means that this is the four-wheel drive 430 horsepower version of the car. So there's not much better you can get than this, and definitely in love with this brand new Maserati Levante.
Now, instead of your typical suspension, we have our Skyhook system, which is our dampening system, and we also have our off-road button. So when we go into our off-road mode, it is actually making calculations by the second, adjusting the suspension to make the overall ride very smooth.
So summing it up, the new Levante from Maserati is probably one of the best SUVs that I've ever driven. Absolutely perfectly put together. Here's the biggest problem with this car. The downside to it is that everybody knows it. Starting at $72,000, the biggest problem that people have with this car is they want it. And that means that Maserati already are expecting to sell around 40,000 of these over the next year or so. They're not sure they can make that many. That means that back orders for this car are just going to go through the roof. They did a brilliant thing in bringing a SUV to the public. This is exactly what people have been waiting for from a company like Maserati. Their sister company, Ferrari and Alfa Romeo, have done the same thing. They're making SUVs now, or designing SUVs now. So this is the big thing, sports cars, but in the form of an SUV. Thanks for watching our Levante video. Of course, it's the only Levante available on the West Coast for test drives, and if you want more test drives, just go to testmiles.com, or you subscribe to YouTube, that little red button right below us here. That'll help keep us in business so we can review more cars for you. Until next time, try and be nice to each other, please. just weaving in and out of LA traffic and driving down, around buses and through other vehicles. I like to drive through other vehicles. I mean, they don't like it, but I like it.